and even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. The U.S. military spaceplane blasts off on another secretive mission expected to last years. This is the X-37B, I believe it is. This is one that we have talked about over the years several times, and it is, again, a secret mission. It is something that, of course, nobody knows what it's truly doing. It's a very freaky concept that this thing goes up there, hovers around forever, and no one knows what it does. The U.S. military's X-37B spaceplane blasted off on Thursday on another secretive mission that is expected to last at least a couple of years. Like previous missions, the reusable plane, resembling a mini space shuttle, carried classified experiments. There's no one on board. They clarify and make sure that you know that no one is on board. Now, this is just like a totally side crazy note. You guys know I did a crazy video with my crazy theory on if an asteroid is actually heading our way. But what if, and this could fall under many categories, what if they are actually flying very, very top people up to somewhere? Maybe they're flying them to the moon. Maybe there's people that are already up there and they use that thing to fly them to it. Or maybe there's a space base or, I don't know, another ISS type thing. People go, oh no, I can see all the apps and I can track everything. If they wanted to hide something, they could. What does that thing really do, though? It could be a weapon. It most likely is a weapon. We'll talk about that and many other things tonight. In fact, we're going to talk about a top general that is saying civilians need to be ready and that we are going to war. So we'll talk about that in just a second. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. The worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even... All right, what is going on, Days? Wing It with Ethan. We got David Bagley. We've got Bonnie Mullen. We've got Life is Better on Stilts and many, many more in the chat. Thank you, everybody that has made it to the live show today. And if you're watching the replay, hope you're having an awesome coffee or whatever you may be drinking today. Let's, of course, go over this first story. But first, let's bring in my co-internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, just want to remind people, you can go over to marfooglenews.com. You can find a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document that we're going to show you here today. That way you have the sources for all of today's articles. You can either grab a second device and read along with us. You can read ahead, or you can read, again, the rest of the articles if we don't cover them retrospectively. Now, all you have to do is click on this, and you'll find the links for all of the show. All right, and remember to go over to marfooglenews.com/friends. It's the next tab, and you will find every single mod there. Go subscribe to them. They are doing an awesome service for the community, so make sure to return the favor. Dex, as far as the X-37B, people commented, they said it's too small for people, and I actually didn't think about the size of it, and I have seen pictures of it, but I don't know if it's that small.
You get two of them inside the space shuttle.
And
In the
how
bay of
many?
the space shuttle, you can fit two X-37Bs, but Boeing is and has plans to actually scale it larger for larger cargo, but also making it be able to transport humans. So that's part of their plan.
Huh. So they're actually making it public that the experimental ship may actually be carrying people in the future. The thing I thought of is like, so if the space shuttle has that bay where it holds uh the the satellite, or at least the famous one that held a humongous satellite and then released it out into the into space. And again, I know that there's a chunk of you rolling your eyes. Either way, as far as that space, you would think that they would be able to fit some humans in there, and if it's twice that, you could fit a couple people. Maybe just Bill Gates. I don't know. Maybe it's just a single solo trip to his bunker mansion on the moon. Who knows? Either way, we have a lot of crazy serious stuff going on. By the way, make sure to go over to Marfoogle News. There is a warning about New York. And there's also a warning about Europe, specifically France and Paris. They are doing a lot this year at New Year's Eve. They have put out 90,000 police, which is really insane to think about. Of one of our largest football stadiums is 50 or 60,000. If you could think about that many police in a football stadium and almost double that, just roaming around the city, that's a lot of cops. Pretty insane to think about it. I'm wondering if they've got people on rooftops, like with snipers, or like, what is it going to look like there? But obviously, that place has had lots of really crazy protests. They've had a lot of big events with hundreds of thousands of people. So maybe that is, maybe that's a proper thing or something. Dex, go ahead.
Just to go back for a quick second, if you want, I do have an image of a scale image. You can see the X-37B versus the C versus what it looks like against the shuttle and its length.
Okay, let's see what this
It's
is.
screener.
Perfect. Here we go. And okay, so this is the, oh, am I calling it the B? Oh, it's the tiniest one. I didn't even know.
It's the B, yeah.
So there is is the X-37C, does that even exist yet? It's only 30 feet long. Is that right? Is that in feet or is that in meters?
Yeah, that's 29 feet, 48 feet, and then the shuttle was 121.
Oh, okay. No, I believe the chat. I don't think that would be big enough. That's like as big as a bus, though. But yeah, no. Yeah, I think you guys are right. I don't think that would be big enough for people. But so is the X-37C, is that something they want to make in the future or something? That's the experimental one.
That'll be the crew vehicle. You can actually put a crew in that. I want to say, I'm looking it up real quick, 6 astronauts would fit, and they would fit in unlike the shuttle. So the shuttle there has that huge cargo bay, and the astronauts are up in the nose. In the X-37C, they're going to use the entire, what would be the bay, the fuselage, so to speak, to hold 6 astronauts. So it's not a cargo ship, it's an astronaut ship.
Ah, gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, definitely not going to be putting people in the X-37B. So I'm guessing it's just a weapon. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about the British warship in Guyana waters fanning tensions with Venezuela? Of course, Guyana being the place that Venezuela just voted and they approved. If they did want to take it over, Venezuela government did a vote to take it over, and they said, yeah. Why is the British ship there?
So this is, I think, the beginnings of some of these escalations we talked about. They, being Maduro and Venezuela, want to take a portion of Guyana's land that's oil rich. They have a vote, or they had one, and it passed significantly, although turnout was very abysmal. So it was really just the supporters of Maduro probably that turned out. So nonetheless, that we came out and said, hey, we'll support Guyana and protect them. And so this, having London divert the HMS Trent over to the shores right there near Venezuela and Guyana into that, has sort of raised some tensions with Maduro, who then immediately ordered 5,600 troops to perform a defensive exercise near the Guyana border. So, this is exactly the kind of stuff we see before things actually escalate. So we're just watching it, reporting it. It's what happens. I expect we expect if they're actually going to take that land, then we'll probably see an escalation of some significance between the U.S. and Venezuela and the U.S. allies in Venezuela.
And Venezuela is heavily connected to not only Cuba, but with Iran. And some of the Iranian folks that are, or I'm sorry, the Venezuelan people coming over the southern border, they say have connections or are with Iran, or at least that's what they claim. So wonder what's going to happen with this whole situation. And then the West may now have no option but to attack Iran. Now, I put this in here when I saw this. I thought about what we've been talking about the last couple days. So I made a point, and we talked about this last night about how the framing of what is happening right now, they, of course, told us for months now, the U.S. is getting attacked, U.S. soldiers are getting attacked, and we haven't done anything back. In fact, they have pointed out when it was 5 attacks, then it was 10 attacks, and it was 25 attacks, then it was 35, then it was 42, 57, 75 attacks, not even exaggerating. There's been articles with all of these numbers, and I'm, again, just making up the numbers, but it's been that many. Every 10 or so, they've done like 67, 73. And somehow, none of these attacks have actually killed anyone, but there have been injuries, right? So essentially, they've said there have been attacks by this certain country or backed by this certain country, and they haven't done anything about it. Now it's been so many that opinion pieces and MSM, our journalists are all saying, well, why is this happening? And why is nobody doing anything? Our people are getting attacked and they're not doing anything. And they keep pointing out that they're not doing anything. So as the public looks at this, now there's a public demand for JB to do something. If JB and the administration, if the White House and the people in charge actually did want to go into Iran, well, it helps if you have people actually calling for it. And now this is important too. When you first see this, you go, whatever, it's an op-ed. But it's actually John Bolton. He is the former head of national security saying this, right? So you've got a lot of big people saying, why aren't you doing something already? A war with Iran, in some people's book, that's a good thing. But in most, especially in our community, we've been looking at this for years as one of the 7 countries that they said they were going to switch out the regime, take charge of, take power over some of the resources there, whatever it may be. And now it's happening. Many, including myself, believe they want a war with Iran. And now people are begging for it. People are saying, like, what the heck? You're hurting our soldiers and you're not doing anything back. Maybe that's the plan. It's the attacks on commercial shipping and U.S. Navy vessels in the Red Sea threaten the global economy, endangering the vital Suez Canal. And remember that Suez Canal. That was talked about in many talks years and years ago. As if the 14 such attacks in the past month and against directly were not enough, Iran has now joined the fray. The Pentagon said on December 23rd that Iranian launched drones struck an Israeli-affiliated merchant ship in the Indian Ocean. This marks the first time since the 7th that Washington has directly blamed Iran, even with over 100 attacks on U.S. personnel. By the way, I said it's 100 attacks last night, not knowing that it was actually over 100. I was just being facetious, but apparently it's real. Right? It says, but in Iraq and Syria by Iran-dependent Shia militia. Now, I'm not saying that it isn't a good thing to respond. Like these are our men and women that are over there that are getting attacked. All I'm saying is that it seems very convenient for what their long-term wants and needs were to go to war with Iran. Now, all of these things have happened, over 100 attacks, and somehow they are shooting like, stormtroopers and missing every target. Obviously, men and women are getting injured, or at least that's what they say. And if they are, that's horrible. These are our men and women. I just really find it really strange that somehow, when it was at like 77 attacks or something, that there was minor injuries, traumatic brain injuries, which are really bad and can happen from the shock of something, or the blast, but they still have not had a death. Now, I don't know if that's changed, but I don't think, because we would have covered the person's name, they perished because of this attack. How does that even happen? So all I'm saying is question everything, question reality, question fiction, question everything. It says White House has fudged in assigning responsibility. That's John Bolton saying fudged. Tehran denied the Indian Ocean attack, repeating its mantra that Oz operates independently and warring against Israel. Nevertheless, India deployed guided missile destroyers to the region and seeks more evidence on the vector of the attack. Meanwhile, India is totally a ally of Russia, and I think they're playing both sides there. But just after Christmas, however, Iran committed the classic Washington gaffe, i.e., telling the truth accidentally, when the Revolutionary Guard Corps reportedly described barbaric assault as one of the acts of revenge for the taking out of General Qasem Soleimani by the U.S. and this word I'm not going to say because especially now, the Zionists. And it says Moss immediately denied the linkage, no more credibility than the Revolutionary Guard Corps. A subsequent effort to walk back its revealing revenge declaration. The critical truth here is that the Iran has directly committed an act of war against what it believed was an Israeli target. While hardly comparable to Hamas barbarity, Hezbollah and Houthi attacks, or Iran's own massive arms and intelligence support, Tehran has now crossed the line of armed hostilities. The West's operating assumption should be to expect more of the same. Iran, for example, recently threatened shutting down commercial shipping across the Mediterranean. It is Iranian belligerence driving potential escalation, not Western self-defense. So John Bolton is totally for this, and he's saying that they should have no option at this point other than to go to war with Iran. Sorry, saw this coming a million miles away, and again, the patterns are there months before, weeks before, and then it happens. My thought is it's only a matter of time before we're at war officially declared with Iran. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Dex, do you think that we'll have war with Iran, or do you think something else will happen first?
I'd like to think that we could get away with showing a strong sign of force against them, not just our little bitty, let's pop off the shack in the side of the town that might be holding some munitions. Let's, do something really strong and sort of shut them down. I don't know that we have to go to complete conflict, but it seems like the warmongers want us to.
Yeah, that's my point, is that they're calling for it. By the way, thank you everybody that has already popped into chat. Thank you guys. It looks like we've got a lot of great people here. John Melland, the Salt Lakers, Ilea, hey, Tyjas NZ, Bobby Sue Fry. Make sure to thank your mods if you want to drop an M in the chat right now. We'll actually do roll call probably after another 3 articles just to say hi to everybody. But let's drop an M in the chat for the mods and make sure to thank your favorite mod. All right, and then thank you. Life is better on stilts. Rip Curl, thank you for modding tonight. Lisa, Leslie, sorry about that. Susan, Loaded Wrench 14, nice to see you. Carol, Lewis Taylor, Sling Gnome. We've got Ashley Alexander, Aunt Jenny, Wadona Pasco, Doubt Her, Matthew Shaw, L. That's an awesome name, just L. I'm surprised you took the L name. And then before we move on, remember to make sure to go check out EMP Shield. This is a device that can actually protect you against not only all 3 phases of an EMP, but can also protect you against a CME or a Carrington level event from the sun. Right now, probably more important than ever, if you go check your personal stocks, I would say get food before you get this. If you don't have food and water, then go do that first. But as far as if you are already pretty prepped, then I'd highly recommend getting this on your car, your truck, your motorcycle, your boat, something like that. And of course, pretty much anything that runs you can protect. That way, if we do have a major scale EMP attack, that you will be able to drive to get out or drive to get home, especially if you work far from home. This is a good thing to have. Go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. You'll get $50 off with our code, and you'll be helping our channel. We're on our own, and especially in the next 4 or 5 months, it's going to be a rough road, especially with picking the next prez. it gets really, really hard on all of the social medias. So thank you guys for supporting. Thank you for sharing us out. Thank you for hitting that subscribe button. And thank you for hitting the all notifications bell. Appreciate it. Marfooglenews.com/EMP, and make sure to use the code MARF. That's the same company that's outfitted agencies like DHS, DOD, and now on the Dempster team helping the Texas grid. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about the Iranian national with hair ties was just caught at the border?
Absolutely. So not the southern border. Amazingly, it's the northern. Now, I wonder why they're telling us this. Maybe they're trying to to kind of deflect from the real problem, which is the numbers that are just flowing through on the south. But they did say, hey, by the way, we caught one. We caught this one guy. He's got ties. And he tried to come in through one crossing and we denied him and he went back to Canada. So then he tried to come in through another crossing and we arrested him. And then we turned him back over to Canada and kicked him out of the country because he was wanted, I think, for he had a warrant or something over there for assault in Canada. Probably why he was trying to get out of Canada to America. But at the same time, he's got ties to these T groups. And I think they really should be looking at where he was headed to see who those people were he was headed to hook up with. They probably are investigating that. I'd like to think that would be the intelligence of our law enforcement. But anyway, the story was to let the public know that the ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, had captured this person and released them back to Canada for detainment there and kicked him out of our country.
And this is just one of many. I mean, this is from the Canadian border. I know everybody's probably going like, "Yep, told you to look up there." That's the thing. The Canadian border is not watched. If they can get into Canada, then they really have a much easier time of doing some horrible things. We've talked about how China has essentially what could be training bases up in Canada. They have an agreement with Trudeau that essentially if they own a property that has interest to the CCP, that they are allowed to not only protect it, but they can ship people into the country and not even let the local police know because they're protecting their own interests. It's a very crazy treaty that they did, and it's quite terrifying if China is doing what we think they're doing. And China is working very closely with Iran and Russia and Cuba and Venezuela. And this is, I have to say, I think we're going to see more and more of these top officials that are going to come out and say this, because this is what I believe, and this is what many other people believe. We are already in World War III. It hasn't gone hot yet. World War III is not the end of the world. It's going to be the start of the new one. It's going to be a moneymaker for several groups of people at the very top, and it's going to destroy a lot of the people at the bottom. A Dutch commander-in-chief is now leaving, by the way. He's on his way out. So as he's resigning, he's basically spilling his own beans or his opinions. And it says Lieutenant General Martin Wijnen, I don't know how you pronounce that in Dutch, but Wijnen, commander-in-chief of the Dutch army, who will resign in 2024, has stated that the Netherlands and its society must prepare for the war with the Russian Federation. It says, quote, "The Netherlands should be seriously afraid of war, and our society should prepare for it. When then believes that The Hague must follow," or is Dex, is it pronounced Hog? Or how is it Hague? Is it Hague? I can't remember.
I always thought it was Hague.
Yeah, believes that the Hague must follow the example of Sweden, Finland, and the Baltic countries, since they border with Russia, are located close to it, so they are better prepared for the beginning of the war. And they're talking about like this, like it's just a matter of time. It says the Netherlands needs to learn that the entire society needs to be prepared for when things go wrong. The Netherlands should not think our safety is guaranteed because we're 1,500 kilometers away. It says, adding that civilians must have stocks of drinkable waters and food for emergencies. There could be 50 generals saying this. And by the way, people will not listen to it if it's an MSM. I made this point a couple weeks ago, is that if this gentleman, people can say whatever, and I guarantee there will be comments saying, oh, it's a Dutch commander. This guy is highly, highly decorated. and he has worked directly. They have done these co-drills with some our military as well. This guy is extremely respected. He's telling his own people to be ready for this war. Mind you, if these guys are going to war with Russia, if they think a war is actually going to happen, if that war happens, U.S. is absolutely going to be involved. That is a world war. Russia going to war with Europe is a world war. So keep that in mind. But this gentleman telling his own people that they need to have food and water and prep. If this guy was at a party, and anybody here, I guarantee if you were at a party with this person, a Christmas party, that's what's his face? That's Wenyan. That's Bob's cousin. If you talk to him at the table or at the bar and he was telling you, yeah, people need to get ready, we're going to war next year, the person talking to him, guaranteed, would go home that night and start prepping, would go to Costco and buy all the crap that he needs, whatever else. People need that kind of direct warning. And I know because I've seen people, they would not believe my warnings, but then when I have my military buddy who's very highly respected and has a background, he tells them, after 2 years of telling them to get prepped, one party, and they're like, oh, okay. And then they start buying stuff and they start getting stuff. They didn't believe it from me, but from the guy with the uniform, boom, instant. So I really wish people would pay attention to this. This doesn't mean that you need to panic and live your life in fear. It's not saying war is going to come to your doorstep, but it very well may be coming to the world. And that's something that we really have to start preparing for. And most of you, this is like beating a dead horse, but for a lot, it's not. And people are not getting ready right now. The main thing that bothers me is all of our friends and family, the people that are not in our community, that are completely unprepared. And what sucks is those people are going to be knocking on your door when all of this goes down. They're not going to be prepped up. And if we did all prep, because in Netherlands and other places like this, they are actually prepped. Their country is telling them to prepare. Their countries are showing them how. Grocery stores in Austria are giving them lessons on how to stock food and to dehydrate food and to have the proper canned food, and even doing classes because they say to their people that war is coming. But yet here we are looked at like we are crazy. It is an opinion that is based out of operations done by 3-letter agencies. They want you absolutely unprepared for anything. And that's the crazy part, is our own government is, instead of telling us to get prepared, they want us to think it's business as usual until the very last second. And that makes it worse for everybody. When these things go down, it will be chaos. On the other hand, if our United States and other countries, if they were, always about prep, everything else, when we do go into a disaster, the more people that are prepped, the less violence there will be, the less looting there will be, the less crimes there will be, the less problems there will be, the less starvation there will be. There's tons of problems that are fixed if we all get prepped, if we all do this, not to mention just during normal regional storms and things like this. It will help. So I hope people are heeding this advice, because I do believe him. And I do believe these top officials that are saying this. How it's going to happen, people can debate all day. But I believe this is coming, and it's coming soon. Dex, as far as, do you get what I'm saying, though? Like, if people heard this guy in person, they would go out the next day and go to Costco. But if it's through MSM, nobody can believe it.
Yeah, totally. But, he's on his way out, so he's going to speak freely. He's going to tell people what they need to do. So this is probably the most opportune time to listen to somebody that's speaking the truth. And again, I know we're sitting here beating, a dead horse, so to speak, with this audience, but, maybe you can use this kind of information with your family and friends and let them know. Matter of fact, bring them into the family too. The Foogle family, that is.
And here in the United States, our military, the recruiting is down. We've got all sorts of ganda going off in social media telling people not to join the military. We've got a lot of vulnerabilities right now. We're low on stocks from helping all of these other wars. And then every branch is having shortfalls as far as getting people in the door. especially young strapping folks, that essentially TikTok is telling them, don't join, don't enlist. It's a stupid thing to do. That leaves us in a huge, huge bind. And then Chinese ex-Navy chief with South China Sea background named defense minister. This isn't, most people aren't going to care too much about this, but at the same time, this is actually the 5th or 6th time in the last month that China has changed out major positions. Xi Jinping is changing his whole kind of everybody underneath him all around. It says China named former Navy Chief Dong Jun as its new defense minister on Friday to replace the last minister who disappeared from public view 4 months ago. Do you remember when we talked about that? The guy just kind of disappeared. It says the appointment by Chinese lawmakers comes as President Xi Jinping upgrades the military as part of his push to make China a dominant world power, a goal that has alarmed many neighbors, especially its assertiveness towards self-ruled Taiwan and in the disputed South China Sea. The role of China's defense minister is to be the public face of the PLA and its engagement with the media and with other armed forces. The crucial element of his job is to engage with the United States military to lower the risk of conflict over Taiwan and South China Sea, 2 flashpoints to which Dong, 62 years old, is no stranger. Before becoming the PLA's Navy chief and made a full general in 2021, he was the vice commander of the East Sea Fleet and the backbone of what now is the Eastern Theater Command, the main force responsible for fighting over Taiwan, a self-ruled island China considers its own. Also, his personal views. It's hard to find stuff about this gentleman before today, because even if you look up his name and his position before in all of the search engines, what's crazy is even if you go to old articles, those old news things, since this is a new story, they have this news story advertised on old websites that it currently updates. So you go to a 2018 article, it will have this article new there. So the search engines all find that. So it's really hard to find information about this gentleman without finding this current article. But he has stated this guy is totally pro taking Taiwan by force. And now he's got the right ears and he is at this top position, which, I mean, he's been at the top of the military for a long time now. So they're putting in all of these guys that are totally, yes men for taking over Taiwan. Dex, go ahead.
Let me get this straight. He was in charge of the entire fleet, and that fleet was in charge of taking over Taiwan. He was also in charge of the Southern Fleet for a time period, which was in charge of the South China Sea. They have taken the one person who has had the longest amount of experience at leadership level over those 2 operations and put him in charge of the whole thing. Pay attention. That's
exactly.
This is preparation for conflict and action in those 2 areas.
He understands it. They're doing everything they can to set this up. I see so much confusion in our community and in the world right now because people are very confused on what to believe, especially since we're getting lied to on a daily basis. I would say go with your gut. Do you think war is coming? I would highly recommend doing your own prep. This is more a prepping channel than anything else, and I hope that people do it responsibly. By the way, thank you so much. Thank you. Bible Talk 777, by the way, thank you. Yesterday, I saw that you had to resubscribe, which is just crazy. You've been here for so long. Saw your theory show. I agree something is being hid from the world. 2020 to 2021 showed how sinister they are too. I agree with you on that. And then Loaded Wrench says WW2 wasn't called WW2 until WW2 was over. Loaded Wrench, I've said this a million times. World War II was not declared. There was a newspaper headline at the very end in 1945. That is my point. We are in World War III. There is no declaration of a world war. They don't go, we declare world war. It's not like that. It's going to be, there's going to be declarations between other countries and then they'll declare war against this and they will make things official. But we are already in world war. That's the thing that people are going to grasp very soon. It just hasn't gone fully hot yet. And it has gone hot in many places. You see all of these adversaries that are on two different sides. You've got South Korea and North Korea about to pop off. You've got Ukraine and Russia. You've got Russia and Poland, Russia and this, Russia and that. Dutch and Netherlands are all preparing. You have China and Taiwan. You have China and Japan. You have Venezuela and Guyana. You have Cuba, which is training all of these guys in Cuba getting ready. You have the southern border with PLA, and I would have to say you've got PLA coming over our southern border. You've got guys. I don't think that just regular Chinese citizens are coming over the border and then cutting a chicken and drinking it because they're not part of a military. I just don't think that's happening. And then you, of course, have our critical infrastructure getting hacked by Chinese cyber armies. Like, people need to wake up. It won't be called World War III until after. And that's really great. Loaded Wrench, thank you for the comment. And then Amanda Ruiz, thanks for all you guys do. Happy New Year. Happy New Year to you, too. We all have to stay happy. We have to have fun. We have to live our lives in a great way, as great as we can, at least. And then Craig Alicious, did you see Elon's tweet? More illegals are crossing the border each month than babies are being born in the U.S. You are being replaced. I did not see that tweet. I will, Dex, can you try to grab that tweet? We can pop that up. And then next exit, we are meant to be here in these days. Next exit, I see what I'm catching what you're throwing there. And then LOD Will says, hello, Foogle fam. Hey, what's going on? And thank you guys for your support of our channel. Again, this next 5 months is going to be absolutely nuts, especially for any creator. So please not only support your independent creators, but make sure to subscribe and share your independent creators out. That includes all of our peers and everybody that you're watching as well. Share them out every chance you get. And let's see here. Let's do a quick roll call before anything else. I do want everybody in the chat to find each other here. Just a general state or province. You don't have to be specific, but it lets you guys find other people around you, instantly have something in common. Let's see here. Bruce Wayne says, happy 2024. Hey, nice to see you. And yeah, it's so close. And then J Pass, what's going on? Norfolk, England. Icini, hey, nice to see you. Jungle J from Kentucky. We've got Wisconsin. We've got Snoco, Washington. We've got South Australia, South Bend, Indiana area. Owensboro, Kentucky. We've got North Dakota, Central Ohio in the house with Donna Pasco. Nice to see you. Let's see here. Eastern Oregon, Leslie Lindsay. WIS Jen from Wisconsin. Wokistan. Central Kentucky, Nova Scotia. South New Hampshire. Is that NH? And then Tactawolf, Lawrenceville, Georgia. Utah on fire. Let's go. And then Ohio, we've got the OH. All right. Daggett and Stump from Utah, south of heaven. Opus Minimus, south of heaven. That's horrible. Sota, Kansas, Toronto, Plant City, Scoobs. I miss Ohio. Yeah, life is better on stilts. It's Ohio's an awesome place. DY Adventures 603. We've got some 603 in the house. We got some 425s in the house. Southern Oregon in the house. Buckley, Washington. Happy New Year. Hey guys, thank you. And again, thank you guys for making it to every show. I appreciate it. A lot of you I see every night. Thank you guys. All right, and Dex, do you want to go over the U.S. intelligence officials determined? This is okay. We both got to go over this one. This is wild. We've got a video coming too that's gonna definitely touch on this as well. Dex, do you want to go over the spy balloon?
Absolutely. So that infamous spy balloon that went over America and was shot down once it got to the other side, apparently connected to U.S. internet provider. They will not name it based on the source information right now. But some of the interesting facts that came out of it said that they had actually sent transmission bursts through that network and got them back and sent them back to China. The current intel, a lot of this stuff is not not necessarily released, this is just coming from sources around it, said that most of the information being sent back was about navigation, where it was and what it was doing, um, presumably. The other thing was, they said that the current president had sought a secretive court order from FISA, Foreign Intelligence Service court order, the FISA order, to actually collect intelligence on it while it was over the U.S. But we don't know what the outcome of that order. Presumably, the order was granted, but we just don't know. All we know, it was asked for. We don't know that it was granted. And that would have included, if they got that order, it would have included being able to surveil it through that American internet service provider. So, to put this in perspective, what I'm thinking is it's probably a wireless communications provider. It could be it could even be a smaller one of those satellite providers, but I really don't think that's the case. My guess is that they're using large burst transmissions. It's probably through cellular. It's probably through one of the major mobile carriers or somebody like that. It's kind of hard, though, to think that those signals are going to reach that high, but, as hard as it is for us to get a cell service when we're in a airplane, you can get it at low altitude, but not at high altitude. But anyway, nonetheless, that's what's come out. A lot of the details aren't fully there yet. And because they don't want to necessarily put the company on blast and let some of the sources out by identifying who exactly was involved.
I bet it was Verizon. They've got the best all around service everywhere. And I'm not with Verizon. I hate Verizon. But if you're out in the boonies, Verizon is so much better than T-Mobile or any of the others. But yeah, or is it the Xfinity Wi-Fi that you see everywhere, right? China's just it's floating off your Wi-Fi. They snagged it. They did 1234 as the password. It just works. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, I really think you're spot on when it comes to somebody like Verizon. Whoever's got the strongest, largest network on the mountaintops, that would be probably the area they're going to get the closest reach to those towers. High altitude towns with high altitude service.
Yeah, and this is the crazy part though. So the BS line they fed us, because afterwards they totally distracted us with UFOs. They really, I think at this point, and I'm sorry to any of the ufologists or any of the UFO community, because I bet you probably got your hopes up. But I'm sorry, I think that they were filling you with crap because it was a great distraction that was easy to get people talking at the water cooler. If the actual government starts chattering about UFOs, it's like, it's the easiest thing to switch the subject. I mean, and the reason I think that is because of how they used it. It's like the same day that JB's son was on trial, what do? They release whistleblower information. They say, oh, we're going to release this redacted thing. They've been using it as a big distraction. And I do believe like that is a good distraction, if anything, because now everybody says everything. Even if you are like, oh, I totally believe this on the MSM, somebody else is going to say that's a distraction. Almost everything we say, I have at least one comment to whatever story it is saying that's a distraction. Everything can't be a distraction, but what I will tell you is that the news, the MSM, they cover real events. It's not like they're just making up absolutely 100%. They make up or they embellish things, but mostly they gear and they frame it in such a way so they can get you to believe a certain view on it. They are shaping the view of the actual event. They're not creating the event. They're shaping your view of it. That's how I feel about it. And with this, they immediately got us all hyped up about UFOs. We totally forgot about the fact that this damn balloon flew over all of our bases. If you were China and you had half the politicians on your payroll, you would do the same thing. You would get people less worried about China and them going over the bases, and you would have people going, is it actually a UFO? And it's crazy because the more that people didn't let this go, they keep going back and they're finding out more and more about it. It's like it was communicating, but yet they let it fly over the entire country. How did the government, who's surveilling us and has ways to tell all of this, not see that it was doing this at the time? Well, they did. Why? There were so many weird things about this. That means China could steer it. That means they did steer it, obviously, over all of our bases. Dex, go ahead.
And the other reason I think it could be cellular is it would be really simple to use an international SIM card that has roaming rights, across all the different networks. The network's not going to know who you are. They're just going to think you're yet another international customer, right? It just happens to pop into the network and they bill it out.
Yeah, so I bet you they found this out because the CIA was like, oh, wait, what is a cell phone tracking at 65,000 miles per hour? Or miles per hour, feet up in the air. They're like, that's one crazy high U.S. citizen there. But it says the Biden administration sought a highly secretive court order from the Federal Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court to collect intelligence on it while it was over the U.S., according to multiple current and former U.S. officials. How the court ruled has not been disclosed. Such a court order would have allowed U.S. intelligence agencies to conduct electronic surveillance on the balloon as it flew over the U.S. and as it sent and received messages to and from China. It was on a long-distance call the whole time. And people don't think that they're doing something like... It seems really obvious. It's like they're not saying it out loud, but all of the different signs, if they are not trying to invade or do some sort of bad attack to us, then they are certainly making it look a whole lot like it without saying it, so people do think that that's what's going on. I mean, from the folks coming over the southern border to the hacks to our critical infrastructure to their embassy here burning all of the files. Like, I mean, they're taking a script out of World War II. All right, and then speaking of if things go wrong, if we do lose power, I'd highly recommend going and getting yourself a solar generator. The one I would recommend is the Energy Flex 1500. This is basically their flagship solar generator, and again, this is one of the best out there. And the reason why is because it is modular. You can actually expand it. You can expand it up to 96 batteries. And you can also add different mods that change its overall performance. You can add a UPS mod that allows it to be an uninterrupted power supply. Essentially, your fridge is plugged into this is plugged into the wall. When your power goes out, it will automatically switch over, like a backup generator should. They have the supercharger mod that allows, instead of 4 panels right off the bat, you can actually plug in 12. Again, this is something that is very cool because it ends up cutting the charging time in a third, no matter how many batteries you have on there. So this is a really, really amazingly built machine. It is something that is extremely high quality, and they've even made it better. So for any of you that have the normal ones, also there are different connectors they're going to have, so you can get some of the new Energy TAC batteries. These actually have built-in heaters in each battery, and it's actually specifically made for the Flex Tactical. This is the same generator that they're going to be shipping out for the SBIR Army Phase 2 contract. So when they say Army Tough on these ones are actually Army Tough. They have a 1,500-pound latch system, a steel reinforced frame. They actually have built-in heaters into all the batteries, of course. And then they also have grounds, all sorts of great things built in. I think most people will be good with the original, but this one is really cool, and they have a way that you'll be able to mix and match the batteries if you already have one or the other. So really, really cool. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy, INERGY. They're completely silent, even when you have them fully loaded, like a computer that when the fan turns on, that fan won't be able to be heard a room over, let alone 3 blocks away, like a gas-powered generator. You don't have to store fuel. You'll have unlimited power with the sun, and of course, you won't have to deal with gas stations in the event. It's better to have both, but as far as if you were to have one first, I would get yourself a solar generator. It's coming absolutely clutch. I've lost my power at least 6 or 7 times, and each time we've been able to just keep going, and we don't have to go anywhere. We just hang out and do whatever we did before. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy and make sure to get the discount with code Marfoogle and help us at the same time. And Maine bars T-Man from the ballot as U.S. Supreme Court weighs state's authority to block former president. Now, mind you, everybody saw the whole Colorado put him back on. Colorado barred him and said, because he did the sixth that he couldn't be on it. But then essentially what they said is, well, it's a permanent thing, and they have to wait for the Supreme Court decision to see if it's going to be final. And if they take him off, they can't really put him back on. So what they did is they said, well, he filed an appeal and they put him back on. So Colorado, he's technically still on the ballot. They're waiting for the Supreme Court decision, but he is back on Colorado. Now Maine, the person, and I don't know if this has the same quote. There was another article that has the woman's quote that decided this and said, I don't do this lightly. Basically, she said, I don't do this lightly. And it's a huge thing to use Section 3 of this and this and that to bar a thing. It's very unprecedented to do, but it's also very unprecedented for a president to incite a thing. The word that they're saying that was. Mind you, he said, in my opinion, even if you don't like him or hate him, he said, peacefully go over there, blah, blah, blah. And then he did a video saying, go home and, have over with. You could say he's a total jerk, blah, blah, blah. I find, in my opinion, it's really hard to say that he actually incite maybe a riot, whatever else. There's never been an unarmed insurrection. So I just find it so crazy that they're doing this. Maine is now barring him from that ballot. Will it stick? I guess it depends on that whole Supreme Court decision. Also, it's Maine. We also looked up earlier, how even if Maine and Colorado were off the ballot, would that affect him winning? Probably not. Not with the electoral system. But it's a big deal. This is, if Supreme Court sides with this and he really is prevented somehow, it's not like everybody hasn't seen this coming for years. The main goal is to get him to not be on it, period. And if they do that with basically the government forcing this person who half of the country wants to be in that spot, it may cause some very serious problems with people. It's a very scary situation that our entire, country, let alone world, is in right now. And it almost seems purposeful. I say almost sarcastically, but what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Try to be nice, because I know this one is a very, very fiery subject. And then Dex, do you want to go over the Russian missile may have passed through Polish airspace?
Well, every time this happens, and this has happened a few times, we've seen it in Romania. We had it in Poland before. We actually had remnants land there. Now it turned out they thought it was Russian, but it turned out to actually be UKR. But nonetheless, when these things happen, they certainly run the risk of escalating or calling into effect Article 5. If, say, it doesn't just pass through and actually lands, or takes a diversion and hits NATO territory. So big deal, at least in the sense that it shouldn't be done. They shouldn't necessarily be using Polish airspace. They're obviously targeting locations that are near the border, and in doing so, that is what happened. Now, this is part of the huge retaliation that was coming in from Russia, and this was the retaliation where they sent a whole lot of rockets in and drones in because of the ship they lost. So these go back and forth. You'll see these massive hits, as opposed to the steady hold the line. We've captured what we're going to capture, and we're waiting it out. This was, in response specifically to that retaliation, or at least the big barrage that came in the last day has been in response to that retaliation of losing that ship.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's nuts. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
Oh, no. I was done anyway. I was just wrapped up. It was, again, this, we got to pay attention that it's not as much as we think that conflict is over, at least in the minds and the passion of people around the country, and the fact that funding is shored up. It's really not. And there's another portion of that conflict that really has to play out over time. And that is the NATO versus Russia portion of it, not just UKR. That may dry up, it may end, but there's still this conflict. There's still this notion that the countries are preparing for conflict. We know that nukes have been moved into Belarus. We know that Russia has pushed hard against NATO in certain areas, and it's just it's so close that it could pop off at any time, especially when an incident like this happens. But nonetheless, massive retaliation from Russia. And some of the things that happened is, some missiles kind of passed over into Polish airspace before landing in UKR.
Yeah, and with the other missile that ended up hitting that farmland, we talked about that kind of in depth. As far as it was kind of crazy to find out that those same missiles were I think that they confused that tractor for a tank. That was a whole big thing when that happened, and people thought that was also going to be, trigger world war. There's constantly something happening in the background like this going into these airspace. It's like any one of these things they could decide could cause it or not. Now, Quintress says, can you talk about the Van Allen radiation belt? So I know where a chunk of my audience is. And again, I mention it all the time. I even have my own questions about certain things as far as like, why don't they have, I just talked to Dex earlier, and even Dex was like, yeah, good point. Why, if they figured out how cameras in space work and how they can just take a picture of something, why can we fly a Tesla out in space and fly it out past Earth, all this? Why can they've had the ability to fly satellites out to Pluto, but they can't fly something near or by the moon, the far side of the moon, and get clear pictures, right? They have pictures, some as far back as the 70s, but they're super, super bad. And then the current ones, they even say that they're composite images. When people say, oh, the Van Allen belt, they're saying it's lethal to people, right? So how did people get out? The theory on the other side is that they didn't. The Van Allen belt is a radiation belt, a zone of energetic charged particles, most of which originate from the solar wind that has captured by and held around the planet by the planet's magnetosphere. What's funny, though, what I don't understand is the argument, and that's coming from a certain side, but wouldn't that also be assuming that it is a certain shape and that it has that thing? Who knows what to believe in general anyways? The thing is, I don't think this argument will ever be settled until every single regular person is able to fly up there. Because either way, it'd be just as easy to prove that we're in a simulation, or just easy to prove that our timeline's been changed or anything else, because none of us have actually been up to space. And last time I said it, do any of us actually know an astronaut? One person said, my cousin's cousin, brother, roommate was an astronaut and has been to space. None of us have actually been to space. You haven't been to space. I haven't been to space. They say, oh, well, we have experiments and these things. I get it. So, but the actual argument will not be settled until we physically go to space all of ourselves. Until then, I think we're going to continue to argue, and I'd rather just not argue. But I totally understand where everybody's coming from on that. And then Happy New Year, Foogle fam. Marf, thank you. Dex and the mods, so much all for the info and the news y'all bring us. I know you both put a lot of time and effort into it. Happy New Year. God bless. Jeff Crawford, you have no idea. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And thank you for recognizing that. All right. And then let's see here. We've got just so much coming in the next couple weeks. We've got New Year's Day. Happy New Year's. We may not see you on this channel until after New Year's. So make sure to tune in to Marfoogle News. Also, make sure to watch our shorts section coming up in the next week. So make sure to check for shorts. You can go to our channel and then go video, blah, 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 shorts. Those YouTube shorts, I think will be really fun. We also have something adding into the regular show very soon here. And I think it's going to be even more fun too. So tune in next week. It's going to be an awesome time. Thank you to everybody that has been around. Love you guys. And I hope that everybody had a great time chatting tonight. Thank you to your mods. Dex, let them know how to get to the source list.
Absolutely. It's so easy. Just go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for today's show, or hit the show notes link down below that's in the description. If you're looking for any of our links, a lot of them are down below in the description. They'll take you to our website. Very easy to get to, and it's all navigable by thumbnail. And again, I'd like to say too, it's been a fantastic 2023 because of the time we get to spend with the Fugel fam. And I want to thank everyone for making it a wonderful year. Even though we've been living through some scary times and 2024 doesn't look like it's going to be much better. If not, it's going to be a lot worse. But I do want to wish everybody a very safe and happy and hopefully a prosperous new year.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, everybody. Thank your mods. They have done an awesome job tonight. Thank you to Quintress, to LOD Will, Jeff Crawford, Craig Alicious, Next Exit, Amanda Ruiz, Quintress again. Can we win against Iran? Are we Americans not stretched thin already? I don't think, did I miss that one? Yeah, no, we are. You're completely correct on that. We've talked about it a lot as far as we are giving stuff away all over the place. They have admitted, the Pentagon has said that our stores are at the bottom of the barrel in some places. Now, I'm sure we're still a strong, badass military, but is it going to be strong and badass as far as, if we're up against every one of our adversaries all at the same time? I guess we will see. And what if they're also trying to deal with a grid down scenario? Or what if they're also trying to deal with recovering from some sort of massive, attack? Well, I guess we will see if it even happens. Love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for being you.
Hey, much love. Great job, brother, and Happy New Year.
It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It is a shoutro.
Even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have
freeze-dried cheddar. Try to take it from me, I won't let ya. I'm a pepper for the worse, for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got pepper. I got a leg up and even have freeze-dried cheddar.
Looks like we're going to have a fun time tonight. Thank you guys. I appreciate it, each and every one of you. Thank you, Briar Patch, Genius by Birth, Louis Tramposh. It is the last shoutro of the year. This is 2023. Goodbye to 2023.
Lady out and the Dex James, come on. Lady out, Dex James and the Tristan G and the cry McBobney, a Doc Papa Dapper List and the Pirate Land, a Warren G and the Briar Patch. I'm in. I'm going down, Carly James, yeah. Hemorrhagic and the fever. I have the power, gonna be a thing here. I get it down, carry on the good boo. I bring it by now, Carrie Ray, love you. We the RZ Kid, Carolyn, the Katie cleans a lot, yeah. Piper Lynn and the Trusted Stars, yeah. Dana Cheryl and the Running Man, yeah. Give me more. It's for the better. I got food, I got water, I got salt, I got